A battery storage site in the UK pays the landowner between £10,000 and £40,000 per acre per year. A solar farm on the same land, 850 to 1200. That is not a typo. Per acre, batteries pay 10 to 40 times more, and they want less of your land to do it. The catch is that almost nobody's land qualifies, and the reason has nothing to do with soil, aspect, or acreage. This video covers why batteries can pay that much, how little land a project actually needs, the distance rule that decides everything, and the lease terms, decommissioning bonds, indexation, exit clauses, to understand before you sign anything. Start with why the number is so high. A battery site doesn't farm anything and doesn't generate anything. It earns by balancing the grid, and the grid pays handsomely for that. Frequency response is the core of it. National Grid pays batteries to respond within seconds when grid frequency drifts. That's typically 50 to 60% of revenue. Then arbitrage. Buy electricity overnight when it's cheap, sell it back at the evening peak, another 20 to 30%. Capacity market contracts and ancillary services make up the rest. Add it up, and a well-run 50-megawatt site earns £4 to £7.5 million a year. Your lease is typically 2 to 5% of that gross. And that's the entire explanation for the per-acre rate. The project makes serious money on a tiny footprint, so it can afford to pay seriously for the footprint. Now, the footprint. A viable commercial battery project fits on half an acre to 2 acres. A 10-megawatt site, half an acre to an acre, paying 10 to 20,000 a year. 50 megawatts, 2 to 4 acres, 50 to 120,000 a year. 100 megawatts, 3 to 6 acres, 1 to 200,000 a year. Compare that to solar, which wants 25 acres and up before anyone returns your call. This is why the small paddock matters. The acre behind the barn that's too small for solar, too awkward for machinery, and earns nothing. If it sits in the right place on the grid, it can out-earn the rest of the farm. Not as a figure of speech. 2 acres at the top of the battery range pays £80,000 a year. More than 100 acres of arable in most years. So what decides whether your land is one of these sites? One thing, overwhelmingly, distance to the grid. A battery needs to connect to a substation at 33 kV or above, and the cable to get there is brutally expensive. Under a kilometre away, ideal. Within a mile or two, usually workable. Past 5 kilometres, the cable cost swallows the project and the site is dead, whatever else it has going for it. The other factors are quickly listed. Flat or gently sloping land, outside the flood zones. Road access good enough for construction traffic. But developers will forgive almost any of those before they forgive distance. Grid proximity isn't the main factor. It's effectively the only factor. If the grid position works, here's what the deal actually looks like. It's a lease, not a sale. You keep the land. 25 to 40-year terms, rent reviewed annually, and the developer carries every cost: construction, insurance, maintenance, decommissioning. It starts with an option agreement while they secure planning and the grid connection, typically paying £1,000 to £5,000 per acre upfront just for the exclusive right to try. If planning fails, you keep that money and the land's unchanged. From first conversation to first full rent check is usually 18 to 30 months. Before you sign, 4 terms worth understanding. These are the questions landowners actually ask us. The index. Rent should rise with inflation every year. RPI linked is the strong position. Check whether the uplift is capped. The decommissioning bond, a funded guarantee that the kit is removed and the land reinstated at the end of the term. So the obligation never lands on you or your heirs. It should be a bond or escrow account, not a promise. Exit clauses. Developers can usually break the lease early. You usually can't. Know the notice period and what's payable if they walk. And the option terms, how long they can hold the option, and whether the money comes up front or on milestones. None of this needs to be feared. It needs to be read. Take the lease to a solicitor who has seen energy agreements before, all of which brings it back to the only question worth answering first. Where is your land on the grid? That's what Solar Grid Check does. Free. Put in your land's location, and it measures the distance to the nearest substation that can actually take a connection, 33 kV and up, then gives you a verdict and an income estimate in about 2 minutes. When you run the check, tick Open to battery storage. Small sites that fail solar pass batteries all the time, and that's exactly what the box is for. The link's below, with the full battery lease guide containing every figure in this video. And if you want the solar side of this story, what the bigger acreages earn, the income per acre video is on the channel. Check the grid first. Everything else follows from it.